Exactly 6 p.m. in Cairo time to look up at the news bulletin from Channel 2. I'm Hanan Al-Khouli. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And we start right away with the headlines. President El-Sisi speaks over phone with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. Irani's parliament approves bill on suspending cooperation with IAEA. And Israeli occupation forces kill at least 79 Palestinians in Gaza as 7 Israeli soldiers are ambushed. Welcome back. The news in full. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi on Wednesday exchanged cables of greetings with kings and heads of states of Arab and Muslim countries on the occasion of the new Hijri year. The president wished the leaders a blessed year that brings peace and stability for all Muslim nations. President el-Sisi also extended a greeting cable to Muslim Egyptian expatriates. The president also received cable of congratulations from top state officials, including Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Sheikh Ahmed Al-Tayyib, on occasion of the new Hijri year. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi held a phone call with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian on Wednesday. During their telephone conversation, President el-Sisi expressed Egypt's rejection of the latest Iranian attack against a U.S. base in Qatar. The president emphasized that Egypt condemns any act that violates the sovereignty of any state. The head of state welcomed a ceasefire in Iranian-Israeli war, asserting that the importance of maintaining and preserving the hold of attacks. For his part, Pezeshkian thanked President el-Sisi, hailing broadened Egyptian positions in support of regional stability. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Migration and Expatriates Affairs Badr Abdelati on Wednesday held historical ties between Egypt and Greece and the momentum in their bilateral relations in different fields. Over a phone call with the Greek counterpart, the top diplomat expressed willingness to push relations to wider horizons. The call also tackled regional files of common interest, with both sides welcoming the ceasefire in Israel-Iran war. The Egyptian and the Greek foreign ministers also emphasized that both parts to the deal should commit and open horizons for political and diplomatic tracks. The two ministers also exchanged viewpoints over developments in Libya, with Minister Abdelati putting emphasis on the necessity of maintaining security and stability across Libya and preserving its state institutions and respecting its unity and territorial integrity. Iran's health ministry reported at least 610 civilians killed and more than 4,700 wounded during the 12-day U.S.-aid Israeli aggression. A ceasefire held the major bombardment campaign Israel launched on the 13th of June, targeting both Iranian military and civilian areas, and that was backed by the U.S. bombing of underground Iranian nuclear facilities on the 22nd of June. Meanwhile, Iran's media said that the state funerals for senior military commanders and top scientists who were killed in the aggression will be held on Saturday. Iran's parliament approved a bill on Wednesday to suspend cooperation with the UN nuclear watchdog over the Israeli air aggression that mainly targeted Tehran's civilian nuclear facilities. State-affiliated news outlets said that the move needs the final approval of the Iran's Supreme National Security Council to be enforced. Parliament Speaker Mohammed Bakr Kalibag, he was quoted as also saying Iran would accelerate its civilian nuclear program. The Israeli attacks came a day after a resolution was adopted by the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, declaring that Iran in breach of its non-proliferation obligations. Still ahead with the Iranian file, the Iranian President Mahmoud Pezeshkian said that his country was willing to return to negotiations over its nuclear program, but that it would continue to assert its legitimate rights to the peaceful use of atomic energy. Following the Israeli and U.S. attacks, the Iranian government faces mounting calls to limit the country's commitments to the nuclear non-proliferation regime. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that Iran remained committed to the non-proliferation treaty, but that it had failed to protect us or our nuclear program. U.S. President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that the ceasefire that ended 12 days of war between Israel and Iran was going very well, while leaked U.S. intelligence cast doubt on the damage caused by the Sunday's U.S. strike to Tehran's nuclear program. Trump insisted on Wednesday that the U.S. strikes resulted in the total obliteration of Iran's nuclear capabilities, setting the country's atomic program back by decades, according to the Defense Intelligence Agency report. The U.S. bombardments sealed off entrances to some facilities without destroying underground buildings and setting Iran's nuclear program back by several months. Israeli occupation forces killed at least 79 Palestinians on Wednesday as their aggression continued for more than 20 months. 33 people died while trying to access aid. 14 other fatalities were reported in the 3,700. From the other side, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wrote on X that it's a very difficult day for Israel after 7 Israeli soldiers were killed in Gaza. An Israeli occupation military official confirmed that the toll of explosion, which took place in the southern Gaza city of Khan Yunis and came as Israeli occupation forces continued its invasion of Gaza. Over 860 Israeli soldiers have been killed since the aggression began against Palestinians in Gaza Strip. Al-Qassam Brigade's Hamas military wing said that on its Telegram channel that it had abused Israeli soldiers as they were taking over inside a residential building. Still ahead with the developments in the Palestinian territories and Israel and in Jerusalem, as Israeli occupation forces shot and killed an elderly Palestinian woman during a raid on Wednesday in East Jerusalem. Local Palestinian officials said that Zahia al-Abaidi, resident of the neighborhood's Shofite refugee camp, was standing on the roof of her home overnight while Israeli forces stormed the camp and shot her in the head. NATO leaders gathered in The Hague on Wednesday for a summit tailor-made for the U.S. President Donald Trump, with European allies hoping a pledge to hike defense spending will promote and prompt him to dispel doubts about his commitments to the alliance. The summit is expected to endure a higher defense spending goal of 5% of GDP. And NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte acknowledged that it was not easy for countries to find the extra money, but said it was vital to do so. Trump has threatened not to protect NATO members if they fail to meet spending targets. Moving on to the developments of the Russian-Ukrainian war, as Russia announced today that Ukrainian drone attacks overnight damaged a grain facility, school, residential houses, and sport complex in Russia's southern region of Rostov on the Ukrainian border. The Russian Defense Ministry said that its units destroyed a total of 40 Ukrainian drones overnight over several Russian regions and the Crimean Peninsula. Ukraine has beefed up its capacity of drone construction and strikes since the start of the 40-month-old crisis with Russia. Welcoming back to our domestic local news, as Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli said that gas supplies were resumed to factories on Friday after being temporarily held in recent days as a result of shortage in gas supplies. The Prime Minister also said that the state is keen on to safeguard and provide all demands for the production process to push forward the production path in order to achieve high growth rates and improve economic and social aspects. The Prime Minister was speaking as he chaired the cabinet meeting at the New Alamein city to discuss a number of important domestic files in addition to review means to implement presidential directives. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli also said that the state welcomed the announcement of reaching a ceasefire agreement between Iran and Israel. Minister of Planning, Economic Development and International Cooperation, Dr. Rania Al-Mashad, stressed on the deep and distinguished ties binding Egypt and China. Dr. Al-Mashad was speaking during an expanded meeting with representatives and top officials in the Chinese business community on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum annual meetings currently taking place in Tianya in China. The Minister of Planning noted that Egypt over the past years has adopted an ambitious program for economic and structural reforms with the aim to improve the investment environment and also to enhance the private sector partnership. Dr. Mashad also reiterated that China is the main partner for Egypt's vision regarding economic reforms, adding that the two countries' economic ties witnessed a remarkable progress in many aspects. Moving on to the Egypt's Boursa, as Egypt's Boursa is closely higher today amid purchases by local and foreign funds and corporations against sell-offs by local investors in Arab corporations, as the market capital of listed companies added 28 billion Egyptian pounds, reaching 2.3 trillion pounds at the end of transactions that ended at 59.2 billion pounds. The benchmark index EGX 30 rose up to 1.24% and above the 33,000 point mark. The equal weighted indices EGX 70 and EGX 100 climbed up to 2.1% and 1.96% respectively. And finally, with the amazing and interesting topic of the news of the sports field, as Benfica beat Bayern München 1-0 to the Club World Cup in the group, and so will play the Group D runners-up, either 16th on Saturday. Bayern finished second and will also go to Miami on Sunday to take on Brazilian giant Flamengo, with the potential quarter-final against European champions Paris Saint-Germain awaiting. Chelsea beat Esperanza of Tunisia 3-0 in Group D in Philadelphia to set up a Club World Cup last 16 tie against. Well, with this, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of our news bulletin for now. Many thanks for watching, and from myself, Hanan El Khouli.